Axling the truck out is more important than having a gross weight. Okay, this scale up here is called the flat platform scale. Okay, it's a solid platform. You want one weight. If you put your entire truck out there, it's going to give you a gross weight only. Okay? If you look at the weight up in front, lights up front, there's a green light and a red light. So as your truck is rolling by, roll to the scales, when your first axle hits, and we'll do that in a couple of minutes, when your first axle right, the winch, and it'll register, and it'll just to red, so you can see it's time for you to stop. Okay. The other thing, you can see this part right here, your tires and your steel or aluminum wheels are no contest right here. This will win, I guarantee it. So be really careful of is when you're coming in tails that you're coming in very, very straight. Make sure you're checking your mirror so you have enough space on where you actually start getting on the scale. Okay. Any questions for now? Okay, let's go ahead and have important on this particular type of scale. This scale, the light will change every time the weight changes. So when you get your first, light will change and it'll lights, others have whistles or what have you. It's a different form of telling stop. Okay. When you start rolling after it has the first axle of your scale, it change again. The light will change to tell you to stop. That's not when you want to stop. You don't want to stop until both on the scale. Is on there. Then you can stop. Now stop as gently as possible, be in the lowest possible gear. Okay? Low gear, granny gear is perfect for this kind of maneuver. You see the light has changed again, so then I start to move on again. Watch the rear axles again, because as soon as the first one hits, it'll change. Right there it will change. Don't stop until your whole unit is on the scale. Now, not only do you watch on the front side when you're getting onto the scale, on the back side of the scale is also the same type of exit. So you want to make sure that you don't just exit right as you come off. You have to make absolutely 100% sure that you are clearing the scale on both. There's very little space to clear on both sides. Probably have less than 8 inches on either side.
Better not start your turn until the
Okay. Once you're absolutely sure that you're clear, then you can swing around. You stop, pay for the scale ticket. 700 pounds on your tires, 7,700 pounds on your trailer tandem axles. You're perfectly legal. 66,440 pounds gross. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to go and move it around anyway. We're going to count how many holes we're going to be moving back. We'll show you how to slide the axles back and forth, and we're going to put the truck over how much weight changes by the amount of holes that we move. Okay? All right. First thing that we want to do is release the locking lever. You can see right here, part of your pre-trip inspection would be to make sure that your pins in here are locked. Okay? You get your bar and you release it. Now, give me a close-up right here, please.
Yeah.
As you can see right here, the pins are locked up against the rear of the trailer. So what you're going to have to do is maintain the brakes applied on the trailer, release the tractor brakes just about 1/4 inch. That is extremely difficult to do if you're doing this by yourself. So in this case, we're going to get a little bit of help and have somebody drive the truck back for us. Stop. All we're doing right now is demonstrating how to move and how the weight changes.
This is the number 3 axle we went over, right?
That's correct.
So the average weight changes
Look how close that is. That's perfect.
looks like you got it.
Yeah, done it again though.
Okay, so as you can tell when you're doing this by yourself, it's really difficult because as soon as you release the pressure, it bounces right back to where it was before. Okay, try it again, please. So look at what happens with your pins. In reverse, it'll bounce all the way one way, and then all the way back the other way. Or right now, it's hooked up to the other side. It's binding on the front side now. Okay. So that's what you need. This is where you absolutely need somebody else to assist you, because what has to happen is as the truck is moving back and forth, somebody can be out here pulling on this to make sure that it releases at the right time. Okay. Okay, you can use your fifth wheel puller to do this as long as you have somebody else in the truck. You can also use a belt, whatever you want to use to keep your body away from there, and it also gives you more leverage to be able to pull while he's moving the truck. And there we go.
You come all the way out?
He came all the way out. Okay, so now what's going to happen right here?
Were you holding it out the whole time when you brought it forward?
That's correct. I was holding it out the entire time. If you don't hold it out, the springs will force it to come back out again. Where was it?
Let's say you wanted to move back two holes.
Okay, that's a really good question, actually. And the question was, how do you pick your target if you only want to move 2 holes and you don't have anything stopping it right there? You kind of get a feel for when you're sitting in the cab. You say, okay, I want to move forward, 4 inches or 8 inches or something like that. And you pick a spot on the ground. You can begin to check your hole. What we'll do is you'll take your hand or whatever with your glove and put a mark where you want the pins to be. Okay, and that's where you.
That's what I usually do.
When your truck comes to there, then you unlock this again, and that'll keep it from popping in until you get there. Yes, sir.
And Randy said if you don't have chalk, you could use a rock or something to make a mark. That was a good idea.
There. I'll pick the clean spot right there. Okay. So it just depends on where you want to put this. That's where it's going to go. Okay, so now that we've moved the weight around and you guys know what the scale ticket is, may I borrow that for a second? We've moved. We were here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We moved back 9 holes. Typically, you want to know how much weight you're going to move around. So for starters, since I don't know how much the weight the product really weighs, we'll get a base so that I can start for moving my freight. And I typically will take 500 pounds per hole. And sometimes it's 150, sometimes it's 450, but I'm not going to sit here and go, okay, 150 times 3. It's a lot easier to just say 500 pounds. Once I get that base, then I move the number of holes that I need, rescale again, and once I rescaled, now I know that I moved how many holes? 9 holes? Now, whatever the weight distribution is with the change, then that's pretty exact. So if I need to move more, I could just move the exact number of holes that I need, okay? Because then you just take the number of holes divided by the weight rather, divided by the number of holes that you move. It tells you exactly how much weight per hole was the difference. So if you still need to move another 400 pounds or 300 pounds, then you decide how many holes by your math. Okay, yes sir?
Now when you're putting weight on here, for instance, you're taking weight off up
It's
there.
got to come from someplace.
So if you take if you 500, you expect 500 light up there.
Exactly.
That's where you
So it's
grab.
basically when you move it, then you're changing.
Yeah.
You're taking a 500 on, put 500 on, or put 500 on, 500 on.
Correct. Correct.
But that's where you grab your gross vehicle weight. So a lot of times, that's why, I would say, you have to look at, you scale out, you get your ticket, you go in, you get your ticket, then you go, oh, geez, heavy here. Kind of light here. I can put 500 more on there.
depending on the tire size.
Yeah.
Some go up to 13.2. Typically, though, you'll want to keep it at about 12,000. 34, and your balance would be 12.
Copy of our first way. This was before we actually moved the axles all the way back. As you can see, the axles for the trailer 27, we moved 9 holes, and look at the next. For the second way, and as you can see, the lights have changed to red. Changed to green and struck again. Making sure, look at the amount of space you have left on either side of the truck. So you have to make sure you're very, very straight. And there's the light again, indicating that you should stop. Again, this is a flat platform scale with no attendant, so you have to keep an eye on whatever the signs you have, which would be this. In this case, it's the light. Again, you have to make sure that you clear the scale on both sides before you start making any kind of maneuvers.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, so we have our first weigh, 10,700. Our re-weigh is again 10,700. On our trailer, I'm sorry, on our tractor tandems, it's 28,040, and it went up to 30,800. Our trailer dropped from 27,700 to 24,920. So we moved a total of 9 holes. And what's its weight?
The rear or the front one? The rear.
So what we did here is we moved the trailer back 9 holes, and you can see the difference in the trailer weight right here from 27.7 to 24.9. A total of 2,780 pounds moved. We moved it 9 holes, so that is equal to 308 pounds. Let's call it 300 pounds per hole. So you move 300 pounds per hole. So now, assuming that you still needed to move more, either forward or back, you know exactly how much weight is going to be transferred per hole. So you could say, well, if I'm still 500 pounds over on my trailer, then you'd want to move 2 holes back, because that would take 620 pounds off the tail. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
You have to maintain the brakes on and pull forward just slightly. Pins are not right back into place. Some of the pins are not completely in place yet, so we're going to have to well, okay, there it is. They're back in. Really critical. I mean, this is one of those life and death situations where it can cost you big, it can cost you trailer. You have to absolutely make sure that those pins are locked. You have to make sure that they're locked. If that trailer was to lock up the wheels, get into the emergency stop, the trailer wheels will lock up first while the tractor is still moving. It will yank the wheels right off the back of the trailer. Okay? We do have one of those trailers at the yard where the driver did not ensure that the pins were set. Luckily, the tires did not come out from underneath the trailer. It stopped at the doors, but even the doors were bent. All the stainless steel in the back was bent. Another thing that's very, very important when you're scaling out, when you're axling out, and that thing would be fuel. Okay? You have to make sure that if you're going to fuel, that you give yourself enough room to legally carry that much fuel. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? A gallon of fuel weighs approximately 8 pounds. Okay, so you have 150 gallon tanks. You add 100 gallons to each side. That's 800 pounds per side. 1,600 pounds that will be up here on the front, and it is spread up a little bit on the front. Most of it will go in the front, a little bit goes in the back. I think it's distributed 2 to 1. But if you're at 12,000 pounds over here already, if you're at your max possible weight, when you fuel up, if you fill up your tanks, then you're looking at being overweight on this axle. You'll be overweight until you burn off that fuel. Okay. Now, since it's only fuel and not freight, can you still get a ticket for it? Overweight is overweight. Doesn't matter what it is that you're hauling. Okay. How much weight you can haul on the steer axle again depends on the your tires. If you pretty much trace pretty from the bounce of that, if you add those two together, you would have 12 pounds, 80 maximum GVW. All right, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, when you go to load, shouldn't you have your fuel tanks full?
Not necessarily. The reason you don't want to fill up your tanks before you load is because a lot of companies will pay you by the payload, by the 100 pound. Okay, they'll pay you per 100. And if that's the case, I want you to run your tanks at about half tanks. I'm not getting paid to run fuel. I'm getting paid to run freight. Okay, so instead of running 100% full on your tanks, I want you to run about half full and be able to use the additional weight for profit.
Then you have to stop twice as much to.
That's correct. And you'd have to make some stops, which is not a big deal because according to. I beg your pardon?
It's kind of a safety margin then for you.
Sure. So that you stop every few hours, whichever comes first. Right. And within 150 miles, you can stop. Half a tank will typically get you about 600 miles anyway. And you should be stopping as a single driver. 600 miles is probably a little bit more you're going to be able to do anyway. So you fuel once a day. Again, you fuel once a day, that gets you a shower, good time to get some meals and stuff, gives you plenty of time, but you're also getting the fuel at that time as well. Any other questions? So just remember, it's really important to keep that in mind. It's okay to scale out and to get loaded when you're low on fuel, but make sure that you have enough room to do that. The worst I've ever done was a quarter of a tank of fuel after I loaded it about 79.5. Really couldn't add any more fuel. So the best I could do was run 300 miles, stop, get another 50 gallons, run 300 miles, stop, get another 50 gallons. And I did that. Right. We know how important tire pressure is. That's why we have you guys check them very, very often. Make sure you check them with a tire gauge. Using a thumper is a good idea if you're going to just do a walk around on a daily basis. But at least once or twice a week, get a tire pressure gauge out there and check all your tires. It's really important to check your tandem tires in the back also, and make sure that the inside tire and the outside tire pressure match. A tire that's 10 pounds less than the tire right next to it will wear out about 40% faster. They're not my numbers. Check with BF Goodrich or Goodyear, whichever tire company you like. Yes,
if you're running single, then you pick up a co-driver. Does that extra poundage of that extra person matter?
It doesn't matter where the weight comes from. Doesn't matter where the weight comes from.
So 200 pounds over that, I mean, like if they weigh 200 pounds, would that be like overweight?
It could be. But 200 pounds, I would say don't buy as much fuel. Buy 100 gallon fuel. You're cutting it that close.
So you don't have like a leeway like 150 pounds or whatever.
Generally speaking, there's a limit. 80,000 pounds is your limit. That's the max you can have. Can they give you a ticket for 80,010 pounds? Yes, they could give you a ticket for 80,010 pounds. Will they? Not necessarily. They're usually.
They fluctuate a bit.
Yes, I can't speak to every officer that's out there.
Okay. Will they give you a little bit of leeway? Yes. Will they give you 1,000 pounds leeway? Probably not. But 100 pounds, 200 pounds, you're, you know, it just opens you up to more inspections, if you will. You really shouldn't be running it that close anyway, but it happens. Very good question.
They might give you leeway on the fuel if it was just the fuel that was over.
No.
No. Okay. They
No.
won't.
They won't.
They won't.
They absolutely won't.
You're talking a little leeway, but not leeway on the fuel.
No, and I've had it happen to me where I've gone over attention, and that's about it. And it happens, and you might fill up, or you might put too much, and now you're not thinking, and you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden, the scale's over.
You're overweight.
You go in, and you're overweight. And you can go in and try to plead with the guy and say, look, here's my fuel ticket. I just fueled up.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, he's not going to care because that's your responsibility.
It's your responsibility. You've got to know where you're at on your weight. Now, if you pick up a load that has 20,000 pounds, don't worry about it. You're not going to be over it. It's so you have to weigh the options there. Okay, we're going to pick up a load of lumber, and you're pretty much at gross weight. Scale it out. Okay, but if you're picking up a load of styrofoam that weighs 10,000 pounds,
Doesn't matter.
you know, you can put it all on this axle and it wouldn't matter. It really wouldn't matter. Kind of the way that I look at it is if I'm going to pick up a load that has 30,000 pounds on it, if I just set it all on one axle, I'd be pretty darn close to being legal there anyway. Since they're filling out the tray, I don't need to go spend that because pounds. Excellent. This truck empty with a dry van, we can probably it weighs at about 33,000 pounds. So we have quite a bit of weight that you can haul. 47,000 pounds is probably our max, but you have to be really precise on where everything is. One thing that we didn't cover, because this truck doesn't have it, would be your sliding fifth wheel. This truck does not have a sliding fifth wheel, so it wouldn't be you're not going to be able to adjust your weight up here in the front unless you actually physically move the freight. Okay. On this truck, however, this truck does have a sliding fifth wheel, and there are different types of sliding fifth wheels. Right here, it has the openings. The openings for the holes on this sliding fifth wheel are very close to the openings on the trailer. They're about the same distance apart. Okay. But if you look at the other ones, for example, the Volvo or the Freightliners, when back to the yard, there are lots, so you can divide it in half. So when I say 100 pounds for the trailer, it's about 250 pounds for the sliding fifth wheel. Okay. Now, another thing important to remember: anytime you move your trailer tandems, when you move your trailer axles, it only distributes, or it typically distributes the weight between those tires, the trailer tires, and the drive tires. The trailer tires and the drive tires. When you move the fifth wheel, it only changes the weight between your drive tires and your steer tires. Okay? So if you're over on the trailer, moving the fifth wheel will not help you at all. It'll take up some of your time, which is your 14th-hour rule, but it's to help you distribute the weight. Okay? It'll only move the weight between these tires and those tires up in front.
That'd be like if your tires up front are just slightly heavy, you'd want to move the fifth wheel.
Correct. Now, if you remember when we moved the axles over here, and it's on tape, so you guys can see later. But when we moved 2,700 pounds of weight on the trailer, it only moved from the trailer tandems to the drives. The steer axle remained exactly the same. Okay, it didn't at all. Okay. Any other questions? Randy, did I miss anything?
I was gonna say the only thing that they might be lenient on letting you go is in weather conditions when ice and snow build up. The scales, that's about it.
Right.
Typically, if it's that bad, the scales themselves will be closed because they don't want you on their scales when it's ice on there.
Sliding across the
scales, so you typically won't get that happening either. Okay. All right. Now we do have another video on cat scales, and it's cat scales are a lot simpler. You drive your truck onto the cat scales, you press a button, drive off the scales. And these are you have to do with cat scales are a breeze.
Yeah. You got this film on cat scales anyway.
Yes, we do. Okay. Any other questions? Remember, I would typically take I typically take about 500 pounds per hole. The amount that your trailer will shift, as far as weight is concerned, depends entirely on how the trailer is loaded. Okay, so if you can have 45,000 pounds, but if it's all loaded towards the front, then you might be able to move 100 pounds per hole. It'll never make enough difference to get you legal. Okay, but if it's loaded evenly throughout, it may change up to about 500 to 600 pounds per hole, all depending on how.
That's why it's important
How
a
it's
lot of
loaded.
times to watch how they load it.
Watch how they load it. Watch how they
And
load it.
know how you
Exactly. Now, I have trucks. Never have been. Don't intend to be. I've got way too many other things to worry about. So if I go into a shipper and they ask me, "How, driver, would you like your load loaded?" I'll take a look, pretend like I know exactly what I'm talking about, and say, "Well, how do you normally load this?" Well, we chimney stack it, or we load two in the front, single. Perfect. That sounds good to me. Let's get it loaded, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Now, just keep in mind, however, that if they do load you wrong, it's still your responsibility. So if they loaded you wrong and you leave and you have to come back to get them to redistribute the freight again, some companies, not every company, but some companies will charge you to redo the work of the trailer. Okay, some of them. So if you stand there and you tell the guy that's loading your trailer exactly how you want your trailer loaded, okay, and he's telling you, "No, I'd probably do it a different way," but it's your trailer, the boss in the truck, bad, paying out of your pocket to get that trailer redistributed again.
You always try to scale out as close to picking the stuff up.
Exactly.
Don't try to go like, I had a guy once that went like 100 miles out and then realized we were overweight. Well, at that point we got to drive 100 miles back, and it's just a waste of your time.
Well-
a lot of times, a lot of places might even have scales, and if they don't, there might be a business down the street that has one that will let you use. You have to do is, it's
Find
it's
out
just,
what those are.
it's just if you see one,
Yeah.
always be observant when you're going to a place to pick up something, that on the way there, if you see a scale, keep that in mind.
Make some phone calls. Local businesses, local trucking companies
Yeah.
are an excellent source of information on where. So open up the phone book, look for a local trucking company.
It's on maps too, on some books.
It is on some. Well, the ones on the maps are your enforcement scales.